Greetings, folks. This is Sayer G, the founder of GreenMedInfo.com, and this is my first attempt at what I would call sort of a GreenMedInfo podcast. What I want to do is give you guys a sort of informal ramble through the site, keep you abreast of some of the changes that have occurred, and just re-establish what our project is all about. As many of you know, our site does exist in order to provide access to the peer-reviewed medical research that exists and that is in the public domain, housed on the National Library of Medicine's database, also known as Medline, and accessible through a number of search engines. We happen to use PubMed.gov. And what we've done over the years is spend quite a lot of time indexing the research that is already in existence, supporting the type of advocacies that we here are passionate about. Number one, we believe in natural medicine. We do not believe in the use of synthetic chemicals of any kind unless absolutely necessary. We also believe in informed consent, and we believe in providing research on the unintended adverse effects of commonly used synthetic chemicals. So our database exists really in order to promote the cause of natural medicine and really help people understand that there are avoidable exposures and ways in which they can educate themselves to do so. So part of that movement one could consider sort of activism, because we are hardcore consumer advocates. We do some pretty in-depth analyses of products with a mind always to the research, because we're not going to besmirch a product unless the research itself says, okay, hello folks, there's something out there you're exposing yourself to that you shouldn't be. So we like to reference the material safety data sheets, and we reference ToxNet. We go to the government sources themselves so that we're not really pointing fingers so much as communicating the truth through conventional sources of information. Now, one of the things I want to point out to people here, welcome to GreenMedInfo.com, okay? We are here an evidence-based platform, but we're also open source. Now, what does that mean? I mean, in programming and such, it means your code is available so that people can use it to, maybe create add-ons or extensions. Here we mean by that term open source that we aren't restricting access to the actual studies that feed the algorithms that make our membership so powerful. So if you're a professional member, you may know that if you're on our turmeric page, I'll click through that real quick, you can actually sort through all 1,500 plus studies on turmeric and focus out just those maybe 20 studies on breast cancer that you're most interested in, versus having to go filter through PubMed yourself, which could take quite a lot of time. So here we go. Go to turmeric, and what happens is this page here, which is a heavily visited page and shared page, which I want to thank everyone out there, by the way, who is promoting this research, because it really can't do any good unless it's in the hands of those who can make good decisions with it. So it's been shared about 3,800 times thus far. We have a video, of course. Doesn't have one on every page, but this one deserved a video. And if you look here, this is a member-enabled page. So what we're doing is making accessible for free many of the features that are only available normally through the professional membership. So I'm not logged in other words. So what you see here is you can break it down into subtopics. So turmeric contains compounds that are listed here, and you can click the curcumin portion, and you'll get another 1,400 studies. The total study count for turmeric, including all the compounds, are 1,531. So if you look down here, you see, wow, okay, I'm interested in prostate cancer. Well, if you look over to the right here, 42 articles on the turmeric prostate cancer connection. You click focus articles, and as a member, it actually filters up all that information. You'll see it's been focused. All 42 articles with the term will be displayed first for quicker access. So I go back down, and then bam, there they are. So those features, okay, are very helpful for the user who doesn't have the time necessarily to search through every single study on a page like this. But what I want to point out is that every single study is available to view without restriction. And that's what makes us feel really good about what we're doing, because for the longest time we just wanted to develop a free database and provide it to the world to support health freedom and enable manufacturers and practitioners who are using natural substances to promote claims for health, not in the traditional sense of practicing medicine, but getting the science out there so people can make an informed decision. For example, pomegranate has been shown in an Israeli human clinical trial to potentially regress plaque buildup in the intima media, which is the middle portion of the artery, and specifically the carotid artery. Subjects were given pomegranate juice concentrate for about a year, and there was up to 29% reduction in the, quote, intima media thickness, the bulging of the artery that blocks or occludes the lumen. So what we're saying here basically is that the research says pomegranate may be very valuable for preventing the number one killer, and if not regressing some of the aspects of that pathology, the number one source of mortality in the modernized Western world. That's actionable information to me. I don't necessarily need it to be fed through a conventional MD and then having a prescription written for me to believe that it's good for my health. I would like to use things that make sense, resonate, are freely available, and that's really why our database is here. Now, we aren't making medical claims, so if you go to our page on pomegranate, let's go substances. I'm doing it kind of the slow way here. You can go up in the search bar and I'll show you real quick. Pomegranate. You just bring it up real quick. Keep in mind my connection here is a little slow today, so it should be quicker for you. So if you go, type in using the Google custom search, get right to the pomegranate page, you'll see we're not making health claims. What we're doing is letting the research speak for itself. So what we're doing through this box here, which we call the quick summary box, is we're providing the research in a way that if there is more research supporting hypertension, it's filtered to the top, okay, versus maybe breast cancer, where there's actually more in vitro, which is cell-based, or animal research. So there's more human research on hypertension, so that disease goes to the top. It's more compelling. Based on the amount of research we've indexed. So 2 studies, cumulative knowledge, which you have an explanation here. You can actually get an even more in-depth one if you like, clicking that link, is also quality of evidence. So the articles times the quality, which may be a human study, which gives you more points than an animal study. And that's sort of our algorithm. It's a quick summary. We just want people to get a quick glimpse. Now the actual studies below here, again, are all freely available to view. No one needs to log in. And as you see, the source goes right back to the mothership, if you like, which is the little portal into the global brain, specifically the medical convolution. Now, I just want to point something amazing out to the listeners here, which is that at this point in time, transmission speeds through the internet are almost as fast as light. About 2/3 the speed. That's faster than transmissions that occur in our own brain through the biochemical process of neurotransmitters and nerve impulses. I mean, it's just an amazing fact. So, the internet now provides us access into this global brain, and PubMed.gov is one of the tools that links into this huge bibliographic database known as Medline. This didn't used to be free to search. This used to be accessible only through a paid subscription, and it was approximately $80 to $90 an hour. And what happened is that because taxpayer money largely funds this resource, it became something free to use. So if we go and type in turmeric, for example, all of the 5,000 plus peer-reviewed medical journals are referenced, okay, or searched through. We'll get 2014 articles. Now, if we go for a subcompound, which is more heavily studied like curcumin, basically because they're looking for lead compounds for drug development, 4,500. So as you can see, that's really how you get the first-hand access, which we want everyone to know. Our website is just sort of pointing the finger to the actual source. And we highly encourage people use that original resource and tell other people about it. Because, if we're living in the era of conventional medicine that's evidence-based, the gold standard being peer-reviewed medical literature, ideally a human clinical trial on top of the pyramid of truth in this system, well then this is the evidence that everyone says is what informs the standard of care. Now, none of the natural substances that are indexed in our database, and there's about 1,530 of them, will ever make it to a human clinical trial for obvious reasons, which is that no one's going to capitalize and venture trying to prove a non-patented substance which provides no return on investment is equal to or superior to a synthetic patented one, because it costs approximately $300 million to $1 billion to go through the phase 1, 2, 3 clinical trials required to get an FDA drug approval. So that's upsetting to me, and that's again one reason why I was driven to spend I guess I can say thousands of hours now painstakingly indexing the research, which we again are not limiting. So I want people to understand that open source, okay, bam, you have access to this data. All the time and effort put through GreenMed Info staff and partners like Cameron have spent a lot of time making that available to you. So please use it and share it with others. We're seeing people share our database every day, and we really appreciate it. Now, we have, of course, 6 indexes. Some people forget, other than substances, which there are 1,500 plus, ailments and or symptoms, 2,700. Therapeutic actions includes anything from being married, believe it or not. There's actually research on it being good for your health. And chewing gum, therapeutic breathing, yoga, acupuncture. These are the modalities that are often very interesting. Distant healing. We've got quite a lot of interesting categories there, so please make use of that. 188 of those indexed thus far. Feel free always to make a suggestion to us. Problem substances. This includes, again, chemicals that don't occur in nature, at least not in the form that we're describing here. We'll click real quick. You'll see a bunch of chemical names come up. Some of these are ingredients in body care or environmental poisons, synthetic sweeteners, food coloring like coal tar colors, Ritalin. A lot of drugs are indexed here, air pollution, aluminum, adjuvants in vaccines. It goes on and on and on. So we're really working hard to get this part of our database up and running because it's really an alternative toxicology database. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, what we were saying before is we've got PubMed, right? This massive database. Now, the literature there, although some of it is funded by your taxpayer dollars, and it is funded in order to ascertain the truth about things, much of the literature is co-opted because the biomedical research and publishing industries are funded often by the manufacturers of the products or drugs that are being studied. So there's no obligation for a researcher to publish a negative finding. So you have this locked system where it's almost like a membrane keeping in negative research on these unnatural substances or invasive procedures or interventions, and then pushing through the positive research on those same things. And on the other hand, you have natural substances, which the membrane keeps repressed when you see studies, for instance, showing the superiority of a natural substance over a synthetic one. And whenever you see a study like, okay, vitamin E contributes to prostate cancer, it gets pushed right through and then given, multi-million-dollar free coverage through the mainstream media, through global media saying that, vitamin E can cause prostate cancer. Well, they don't tell you it's DL-alpha tocopherol, which is basically a petroleum-derived synthetic form, has broad spectrum endocrine disruptive properties because it's technically 8 different isomers. I mean, it's just a nightmare when you really look at those fine qualitative distinctions that are not addressed when it comes to besmirching natural substances. So what we're doing is indexing the research not only on natural substances, but unnatural vitamins, for example. So DL-alpha tocopherol, we have probably the largest body of research on the internet just on the adverse effects of that synthetic vitamin. Now you'll see on the left we have sponsor links here now. One of them happens to be a new book that I put together on wheat intolerance. including a 90-page reference guide of research on the adverse effects of wheat consumption, which include about 120. That spent a couple years doing that, just for the joy of it, because I found personally removing wheat did profoundly beneficial things for my health. But the sponsors are our new approach to trying to keep our database solvent and sustainable, which is we are looking for those in the publishing fields or education, health practitioners and or associations. Right now we're not interested in working with products or manufacturers of products because we don't want the conflict of interest. Technically speaking, having a juxtaposition of a product for sale alongside research indicating that it could be beneficial to your health may violate FTC, FDA laws, which again are unconstitutional insofar as we have the freedom to speak truly about natural substances and their benefit in theory, because there's the Constitution, but it's really not being obeyed or honored right now. So speaking the truth is difficult, and having a juxtaposition of a product that you could take to, quote, prevent, treat, diagnose, prescribe, cure a disease is illegal because it's not an FDA-approved drug. So we don't want to go there right now. We don't really need that kind of controversy or attention, nor do we really want people to look at this database in terms of palliative medicine, like, oh, I'm going to use ginger to treat acid reflux to suppress a symptom, although it's actually quite therapeutic and may even address some of the causes beneath those symptoms. The problem is palliative medicine, where you suppress symptoms, is still a philosophical trap when it comes to really addressing the causes. For me, eliminating wheat or cow's milk would be one of the first steps. If I had acid reflux, I would consider incorporating traditional foods, fermented foods, to get the probiotics back in. These are things that involve dietary modification as much as they do supplementation. So we appreciate the manufacturers out there who are providing alternatives to medications, but right now we're looking for sponsors who we can partner with and feel truly proud of and authentically want to promote their cause. So integrative pediatricians, for example. We just love the concept of pediatricians willing to try Wally's ear oil versus an antibiotic for ear infections, or watchful waiting. And not only that, we provide them information which supports that sort of approach, because there is peer-reviewed clinical research on watchful waiting being at least as effective as antibiotics for childhood ear infections. So it's under the otitis media or ear infection ailments page. So, we want to support you, and we need your support. So if there's anyone out there looking for that kind of mutually beneficial relationship, then just contact us. You'll see we are advertising our memberships. There's a basic and a pro, and if you click this button, you'll see the differences in those features. Now, this also enables us, again, to continue to provide services, and we're really trying to develop applications. We want to produce a free one in order to get the word out and make this database more accessible to sort of a mobile technology-based culture that we're moving into. So, anytime anyone becomes a membership, not only are they getting a lot from that, we hope, but they're also supporting the growth of these improvements. With Pro, we're giving away the equivalent of $25 a month worth of these GreenMedInfo tokens, which if you look here, you have some icons that they'll explain what those are. Basically, they enable you to print professional PDF documents using our search function, which I wish more people knew about, which is one reason why I'm actually making this video. If you go and you look under the Tools section and you click Substance Finder by Disease, I'd like for you to quickly look at this, which is something that I just love. If you happen to have a health problem, let's say you have breast cancer, and instead of looking through each study or trying to figure it out, okay, and then you have diabetes type 2, let's say, and keep in mind, as a Pro member, you can put up to 10 in simultaneously. This is anonymously that I'm logging in, so anyone can try this out. You click Submit, and what it does is it references every single study on our database that combine those two diseases, and it will pull up a list of things that are therapeutic in theory and or problematic, so that you can make a determination from the research yourself. Now, in this case, soy comes up, and that's a highly controversial topic. And again, one of the drawbacks of our system is we don't have this huge disclaimer saying do not consume GMO corn in any form. Don't even look at it. Okay, it is that toxic with glyphosate residues, not to mention the oh my gosh, the genetic aspects through horizontal gene transfer. It's just a nightmare. And yet, I myself have to acknowledge just how therapeutic soy can be in the case of estrogen-sensitive cancers. So, contrary to the mantra that seems to saturate conventional medicine today, which is all estrogens are carcinogenic, and suppress the estrogens, aromatase inhibitors, and use tamoxifen, and all these chemicals that are classified as human carcinogens. Okay, literally, tamoxifen by the World Health Organization, the American Cancer Society, it's a human carcinogen. Still first-line treatment for certain breast cancers. That's their standard of care. And they're telling women soy is also a carcinogen. And I understand the controversy, and I'm not saying that it's perfect. In fact, soy is a medicine. I really don't like to treat it as a food. But if you click in the future the soy page, you'll see all the studies indicating a reduction in breast cancer risk, or direct anti-breast cancer properties, or amplifying the chemotoxic effects of tamoxifen. So it's just amazing to me that this research is being ignored by the community that is charged with knowing the difference. Curcumin, blah, blah, blah. You go down the list. Now, the real virtue of this is not only are the therapeutic substances listed, but problematic substances. And it doesn't stop there. Okay, it goes to therapeutic substances, and sometimes you'll see problematic actions. Now, the key is with your GMI tokens, which you get, I believe it's 100 per month as a pro member, which cancels the membership subscription price if you're using this tool and appreciate it. If you click download on this little button here, you're going to get a professional PDF product document which links to all the citations back on the Library of Medicine. So it's really a high-powered, time-saving tool that you could slap on the desk of a doctor that you're working with and say, hey, listen, this is the research that I found relevant to my condition. I'd really like to consider some of these things, and here I'm giving this to you to see what you think. And instead of it being a document from some green tree-hugging site, it's not linking back to our studies on our site. It's linking to the Library of Medicine. So I'm going to show you real quick what this looks like, because we hope that this will help to change the way medicine is practiced, because GreenMedInfo really is an evidence bridge. Okay, we're trying to help the conventional medical establishment take the jump over the fence back to the green grass of natural medicine. The sort of the utopia. It's really not that simple, but again, if evidence is what is the dominant feature of conventional medicine and what makes it so powerful and so superior, then what we really need is to honor that and to use the tools provided. So here you go. This is our PDF. On the left, you see this really convenient bar, so you can just click directly to that research, and bam. So, okay, this was on the research of breast cancer, diabetes type 2 for this theoretical client, and now suddenly you have all this research relevant to their condition. So when they click this link, it's actually going to go directly to the Library of Medicine citation, making the job of incorporating this kind of research into practice much easier. And quite frankly, it may be the only option, because how many physicians in their busy practices are going to be able to spend hours and hours when they go home at night after a long day, studying and researching this stuff? You can't blame them, okay? So this is really important to note that this tool exists. I'm having some lag time on my computer today, so this isn't going to take long if your connection speed is correct, but I'm not going to bother to let this do its thing and go to PubMed. I want to get back to our database. So again, this feature here is available to use without restriction, 2 deep for anonymous users, professional users, up to 10. And again, they have the option of basically using that for free as part of their membership subscription. So that's kind of a feature that I think a lot of people don't realize exists. And here's the next portion of what's changed is that for many years I spent most of my time just indexing the research. I'm still doing it today. We're getting much closer to the 19,000 study mark, and I really want to get to 20. It's just a psychological hurdle. But what I decided to do of late is to spend time actually contextualizing the research. So if I find a study, this specific study is just so fascinating to me. It's looking at cancer as not just some chaotic process, sort of the basis of the mutational theory of cancer causation is it's just a bunch of additive DNA adducts and damage to the genes, and eventually the cell just freaks out, and there really isn't any sense to it. It's almost like a virus gone wild. Well, that's not really the view that I hold dear, which is that it's a byproduct of a lifetime of shock, damage, and adaptation to environmental poisoning, nutritional deprivation, and then there's the psychospiritual aspects, electromagnetic disruptions. What is the cell going to do? It's been abused. It's going to flip into survival mode. It's going to be self-centered. It's going to proliferate and rebuild itself very aggressively. It's going to metastatize. It's not going to obey its role in the community, which is what our body is, a community of cells. So this view adds some existential depth to cancer and explains how maybe it's a symptom, not so much a cause or disease in and of itself. And it's not some gene bomb going off in our body. It's not some fatalistic process. Well, there's a very interesting study out on this right now. It's actually just a reflection by Mark Vincent showing that it's probably a evolutionary conserved life form or a regression of that human cell back into an ancient lineage going back at least 500 or more million years ago in biological time, when the cells were much more resilient, much more self-centered, and so it's almost like a survival program kicks in after all that damage and exposure. I mean, we know of bacteria that can survive in nuclear waste. I mean, there's certain genetic traits that bacteria have far more evolved than us, and certain genes we have we never lost or we're able to slough off because we didn't really evolve or have the challenges to do that. So cancer needs to be understood as a meaningful process that once we identify the causes and understand how a cell can be that selfish and decide to be so immortal that it could threaten the existence of the entire host body. Once we understand that, we can actually make progress. So one essay of many, looking at the research, trying to put some context on it, make it compelling. Because what we notice on Facebook is that we can post really amazing studies, but they're so technical and sort of overwhelming that they just kind of get passed on, or people share them to their wall, and it's great. They're big fans, but then we actually get complaints. At one point we had some spam complaints because their friends just didn't want to see all this GreenMed info stuff, because when they clicked on the studies they were like, what is this crap? I don't understand it. Well, what we want to do is make the research more intelligible and actionable to the end user and layperson. So that's what the new blogging process is. So we're open to suggestions, of course, if you have any topics that you're not seeing here. So hopefully this has given you a good rundown on some of the features of GreenMed Info and also just where we're moving. I'd like to say again, thank you to everyone out there who has been supportive and who's helping to bring us to the point where we're within the top 9,000 visited sites in the United States according to the Alexa ranking, which is highly inaccurate, but it does help us to get a sense of what's happening. We had a few articles that reached the mainstream, so to speak, and we ended up getting was about 60,000 visits in one day, and that's really helped. People tend to come to our site because of the articles, and then they start to realize that it's a database. So what I suggest is, if you're curious, just pop a term right in the search box, because I find it's much easier than trying to navigate through the different databases. Now again, for the professional users it may be more convenient. There's features that I haven't really shown you, but I can let me do this real quick. You can filter like article count by the topmost or least most articles. So I'm going to click this twice to get to the topmost. So you can kind of see what's more heavily researched on our site. 1,481 articles on curcuminoids, 468 on soy, and so on and so forth. So there's little features built in. Oh, and I didn't show you this, the downloadable documents. Now, what we've done is basically made available all of these nodes, like turmeric, into a PDF document. So if you click the downloadable document icon, you will see a page like this where you have the option of downloading this, and as a way of supporting us, enabling us to continue to grow and provide you with even more features and other services we're working on right now. Some people feel like they can afford that, they want to support us in that way, and it's worth it to them. I mean, I spent 3 months working on the turmeric page, so for $49.95 they have all that research and all the hyperlinks. They can go directly to it in a matter of seconds. So we do hope that it's worth that to someone. And let's see, the store. So if you go GMI Docs over here by these icons, you're going to see the store format, where you can see all of the different icons that are purchasable. And then you'll find some of the pages you go to don't have a document for sale, and all you have to do is click this little button on the left, you'll see, and says request one be formulated, so then it's automatically created. So, and we're always open to requests as well. And you'll see more of this now that we're having some ebooks we're putting together. There'll be other things that are available for download, including things that are free. So this is a big part of what we want to do, is get the word out. So for example, here, breast cancer, in celebration of National Breast Cancer Awareness, we actually made that document free to download. It's still free to download. And statins are somewhere on this list. There's over 300 different adverse effects that we've discovered on statin drugs, and we're getting ready to launch that in a national campaign to really bring awareness to what is really an epidemic of statin-induced myalgias and myopathy, which is basically compromising the muscles in the body, the heart being a muscle, so you can kind of understand how profound the implications are. So again, thank you for your support, and I appreciate you being fans and helping to share this resource with others. Thank you.